Hi, and welcome back to Prison Architect Alpha 20 for the Prisoners of War Winter Edition modded pack, or mod basically. And we are continuing off from where we last left. And what did we do? We set up our factory, artillery shell casing factory, apparently. And we built up a yard for our prisoners. We built a second holding area where my less medium security or American prisoners will be. And we also built a armory, as you can see, soldiers or soldat with the carabine and the Luger. And we also built a kennel. Rather big, but that would be, just let it be that big, I don't care. And just right now I want to put a perimeter around these guys where there will be dog handlers, because in every prison you have heavily fortified areas where there's dogs and guards and yeah, everything. But what you really, or I imagine, in German POW camps are German soldiers walking around with shepherd dogs, or German shepherds, really mean dogs, snarling and growling at the poor prisoners. So, and for the security if they try to dig out, but this is holding cells and there's guards in them, so this is just unnecessary. But it's cool, just have lots of guards. So, adding that, we should have ample, or that's just about all the dogs actually, yeah. So, just until we have enough workers, there's not much happening in the prison. Although, after having played this mod a bit, it's very interesting to see how this mod, maybe indirectly, makes you treat the prisoners differently, because in vanilla you have maximum, medium and minimum security, and right on my left side I have opened the page for the Wikipedia, and I searched up prisoners of war on that page, and you can I'm very interested in this era, World War II, so I already know a bit about it. However, it's there's lots of things to read about. You never can know too much or everything. And one thing that's that I've never been reading too much about is the prisoners of war. I knew that they will built, for example, in Burma, the Japanese used Americans and British to build the railroad. But when you come to Europe, how Germany treated their prisoners, you read about Auschwitz and the Holocaust, but also loads of products and infrastructure were maintained and produced or built by prisoners of war, basically. And differences were made because Germany, as you know, were a fascist Nazi regime, and the belief that in Europe or Western Europe you had the Aryans, which were the top race, and to the east and in the Baltics you had Slavs, which were like, it was better to be Aryan than Slavic. So they were treated less worse, basically, not less worse, they were treated worse. So in this mod, Soviets, or everyone that's from East Europe, which were Slavs at that time, I hope I used the right quote-unquote race for those people, but anyways, they were treated with less, they were treated as a lesser being. And the thing in this mod is that they are the maximum security prisoners, meaning that you will be treating them harsh, you will be searching them more often, you will be giving them less privacy. Maybe you will make it make their cells worse, etc. You will take much more care, kind of them. You will be treating them as a more dangerous enemy, while the Americans were maybe not the worst enemy the Germans had. I will say the British were more of a nuisance because they were closer to the continent. However, the Americans are your medium security, coming from the greatest superpower at the time. And then you have the British, medium security. You don't really think about the British as violent, ragtag guys who thought of life as a thing to waste, because from the Soviet, millions of people died. They were sent into as cannon fodder, basically. So when you read about how they treated the prisoners, you can see the difference, what tasks they were given. So for example, the French, not too big, they're not here, but they are Westerners. They weren't really given too much of a hassle. If you were an officer, I believe, you were, they were released actually, because France was the second country, the first Western European country they took. And if you were a soldier, you were released. About 1/3 of the prisoners, the 2 million French they took as prisoners, were released. Then you had the officers, high up in the rank. They were kept in prisons because they could raise resistance. They didn't want that, so they were kept for their own quote-unquote safety, or the safety of the Reich, basically. And then you had the lowest, the privates, the freshmen, the youngest people, basically, who were sent, about half, to the agricultural sector to grow food, and the rest to mines and factories, which you basically think prisoners of war will be sent to produce wartime goods, ammunition, and basic stuff like that. Then we come over to the Western allies. Think of the Brits, basically, and Norwegians and Danish and all those. After France, the guys who were conquered or basically at war with Germany for the remainder. And they were treated fairly good. When we come into the Soviets, the difference were enormous, and they wouldn't be used or sent to work in harsh conditions like the French or the Soviets. And once, for example, Norway was invaded, I know about histories I've heard, they were given amnesty. They would be taken as prisoners first. It was the first time, of course, and then they would be transported to a camp. And when Norway was annexed, they would be given the option to go peacefully, but never do resistance, and we will not bother you anymore. And the first battles, if the Germans overwhelmed, they would say, you are being given the choice to flee. So they would flee and come back and fight. So it kind of bit the Germans in the ass, actually. But they were treated much better than the Soviets. So, and also because the Germans thought of us Westerners as the right race, which shows, which was the bonus. Less people were killed on reasonless ground. And back when you read about, there's a lot of more information. Western Europeans were also sent to really bad camps, treated harshly. But the guys who really got the worst treatment were the Eastern Europeans. You basically, you heard histories about the Warsaw Uprising, the ghettos, the deportation of Jews, and all that bad stuff. But in the Soviet prisoners, when Germany invaded Russia in 1941, and Operation Barbarossa, 3 million German soldiers, Italians, Romanians, and Axis soldiers were sent in. And to counter that, the Soviets had to send in millions upon millions of ill-equipped young Russian men, and old of course, and loads of these people were captured. And when they were captured, the further in you got to Russia, the further they had to walk. They were sent to walk all the way back to Poland into the concentration camps. And there they would be executed, they would be treated really bad, they would be sent to doing really hard work, almost like the Soviets who captured Germans were sent to Siberia to work in the gulags, in the mines, and yeah, just die basically. Once you were caught, you were kind of screwed. And loads of people died. Recent numbers have, or studies have shown that the double amount of every single quote-unquote race or group of people died. So when we say 6 million Jews died, 12 million may have died. And also about let me see if I can find the numbers here. It's the Wikipedia, if you will trust it, says that 5.7 million Soviet prisoners were taken. About 930,000 were found alive, so 4.8 million died in the prison camps in 4 years, from 1941 to 45. So that gives you something to think about. So you may want to. Hopefully, no one will die here. If somebody is going to die, I believe that one of these will maybe shank their comrades. What I would love to see if this mod were taken to the next step, that the different groupings, American and Soviets, were of what I'm going to say. They were in groups, so all the maximum prisoners would work together. If there's a riot or a uprising, they will fight together and not shank each other or knock each other out, because in reality they were doing that kinds of things with each other. So yeah, I'm sorry if I bored you with that talk, but that's the thing with this mod. If you like that sort of things, not torturing people of course, but the thing that you kind of have this difference, not ethnicity but nationality of prisoners, it gives you kind of a backstory. I feel the whole thing about this prison, and not just maximum, normal, or medium and minimal security. So that's the deep thinking about this mod, I think. What I really love about this mod is that this is Soviet prisoners and this is American prisoners. So for the next batch, I will actually be taking in some British only. I will take in British soldiers to see how they look, and holding cell over yonder, and yeah, I will just fill it up. And this will be a shared bathroom. So yeah, everything else is shared, of course. So that may give you some thoughts. Maybe check around for prisoner camps, and like you want to make a layout, because this is what you normally affiliate with a prisoner camp from the war. Cells are not aren't used, solitary cells of course, but they made these barracks you see in the concentration camps and prisoner camps. They were living in barracks as far as the eye could see, and if it weren't for these toilets that needed water, or I would just build a shack in the middle of the woods, in the middle of nowhere, basically. But I like that you can have a bathroom, so it's a small shack to wash, maybe have showers outside, which would be really cruel. But the bathrooms they don't have to be inside. So you can make them to shit and clean themselves outside, which is, if you take this to the max, you may want to do, because having an indoor toilet during the war in a prisoner camp weren't really that were too luxurious. So yeah, here you can see a problem I'm having. Was the prisoner? Oh, yeah. But you see, he was bobbing around at that corner. So that's a problem when you have cells, because I build my cells like this, and then I have a door here, and the beds are here and the toilets are here. So when the guards come in here, they would usually get stuck on this corner or this corner. So the search would just be going on forever, which is quite annoying. But that is a bug, which or a little problem the game has. Not game breaking, but it makes you have to babysit your guards and prisoners. The solution is to tell the staff to move, and if a prisoner is stuck on a fence or something, you just make somebody search him and he will be unstuck. So that's all for that. We will just be assigning officers. Just hire myself some more. Loads of guards. And I will be having a guard just patrolling this. And this guard will not be patrolling here anymore. He will just be going so and so. So I will like have 2 guards, armed guards, standing outside. I wonder, where is that last one? He's probably having a break. Or did I buy 2? Yeah, I did. Okay. But yeah. Maybe I should build some guard. No, filing cabins. Soldatenlocker. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so he was for some reason in there. So now, yeah. No, what? What are you doing? Oh, you're going there. Okay, so they are resting themselves. Yeah, so so they rest inside the armory. I didn't know that. Okay. So now we have like, oh, you can see he is slowly inching himself over here. But if I tell him to walk away from the door, he will unstuck himself. And for some reason that guy is stuck as well. Okay, so now we have like 2 guards standing guard outside here. Maybe I would want them to be like that. Search. And yeah, there's 7 hours until our British prisoners will be arriving, so I haven't really done much more than talking and just skipping around. I'm sorry about that. I will be coming right back once these guys have come in, so you can see how the British prisoners look. And hopefully by that time we will have some workshop. Yeah, we have 2 guys who can work in the workshops. What I will do is sell this crap so we can actually see them make shell casings. For now they're making cut sheet copper. Okay. But yeah, I will see you in 5-6 hours. In game, of course. Okay, so now we are rolling into the last minutes before our new prisoners arrive. We can imagine that this is after, well, British prisoners after Dunkirk and the failed invasion of France, maybe. Oh, Market Garden. Let's imagine it's British prisoners from Market Garden, Operation Market Garden, and the Netherlands had just been captured, because that coincided with the Soviet prisoners. The American prisoners, not so much. They came right after, during the battle of or the D-Day invasion. So let's just say these are some unlucky fellas. But yeah, I want to correct myself about the Soviet death account. again, according to Wikipedia, 2.7 or 3.3 million have died, but about 4 to 5.7 million Soviets were captured. So still, that's a lot of people. You can't just imagine the amount of human bodies that is. How many soldiers who got captured and worked or died in prison camps. And that's something that's been in the Nuremberg process after World War II. Albert Speer, the industrial minister of industry, used so goddamn many prisoners to POWs to fuel the economy and industry of or the war industry of Germany at that time. So when we're maybe lucky enough to see, before this episode is over, some artillery shell casings I mean, being built. Why they're made of copper, I don't know. I don't know if they did it back in those days, but I know that this day you use brass or some other alloy to encase the gunpowder, and then a mixture of brass-clad lead or iron. I'm not really sure. I know that in Norway you have a environmental law which says that you have to use unleaded bullets basically, because fire exercise and such in the nature may harm the nature basically, because we use leaded bullets. So we have to use unleaded bullets, which deteriorate the reliability of the weapons. And you may think that is just stupid, and of course it is, but yeah, that's the law. So sadly it seems that everyone... Oh, okay, so now we can see he's working here. And now we see the shell casings. I really like those. That seems really cool. I love that this mod actually adds this, that it's not just the look at these people, but the things, the benches, the tables, the walls, the whole furnitures have been changed. Like this pool table still says pool table, but that's like yeah, recreational table it says. So you would play card, drink hot water with, I don't know, some shitty coffee or tea in it, just colored water, but that you make shell casings. So now we're helping the war effort, basically. Maybe there will be a mod. This mod creator will make like some can't really say American prisoner labor camp, because they didn't really use laborers in that kind of way, or prisoners in that kind of way. But like North Vietnamese. But then again, you take the ruthless side of this. Maybe an American prison camp, or British Allied prison camp, basically. And try to treat prisoners in other ways, or just totally like Prison Architect is intended to prisoners. But yeah, I feel like holding cells are more in place than normal cells, because this is the prisoner barracks, basically. More time, right for its time, than individual cells. So yeah, so we have our British prisoners somewhere around working. I think their texture is American. Soviet. Privyet. It's American. Yeah, so you can see, I think Buckwell here is corporal. You can clearly see that here we have a more light. This guy, Sergeant Parkin, has a whole uniform, while green, while the Americans have pantyhoses, or what do you call it? Pantyhoses. like those straps on their belts, the same as the Russians, but you can see, or the Soviets, but you can see their uniform color is different. And he doesn't have, but you can also see he has a brown color. So that's the prisoners. And also, just you can look at maybe see some difference in our soldaten. There's no iron cross here, as you can see. We have the German eagle, this stripe at the tie. Maybe it's some sort of tie pin indicating some military rank. Maybe. You have the officers. Okay, they have the same thing. So maybe not the same. I will think the officer has a higher rank than this guy. But you can see the Oberstleutnant, or maybe the director. He has the Iron Cross. I believe that's supposed to be the highest military order granted to a low-ranking military personnel from Germany. Well, these poor workhorses of our prison doesn't have any, which is sad for them. But yeah. So, what more is there to do? I've just been talking. I feel like this. I've showed you this mod to its greatest extent. What more there is to show, I don't know. Hoo-hoo. We could arm all of our prison guards with Lugers. We can't afford that. It will also cost a lot of, maybe not, body armor maybe. Although we haven't really had any problems with these prisoners. They haven't rioted. In the beginning, I remember there was a bit of skirmishes between, so some happened to go into solitary, but the only reason they are punished right now is because we have found contraband on them. And as you can see, since we have no metal detectors down here, they have smuggled loads of tools. So before we stop this episode, I will be doing a shakedown. And also, I remember I mentioned this last time, but you can see the texture of the drill has changed, like a manual rotation drill. Quite funny. Oh shit, that wasn't supposed to happen. I think there is some violence happening somewhere. Yeah, maybe not. And yeah, you can see the tool supply was all the way up here. Now it's down here. So this is helping. So that shows there's a lot of tools and weapons in our prison. As you can see during our shakedown, you really have to be careful about the factories and the canteens if you choose to not use loads of stuff here. Yeah, metal detectors really lowers the amount of smuggled tools and weapons from canteens and workshops. But yeah, so now we're closing in. There is some weapon. Yeah, a baton. What? A baton. So there's a fork. There may be another piece of narcotic has entered. As you can see, that's the first time I've seen that. So now we know somehow somebody has stolen narcotics. And the only place you can really get narcotics are from the kitchen. So maybe if I get out of this screen, I didn't really see any moving. All of these guys are being taken to lockdown because they have smuggled something. So we try to search some of those guys. Maybe, let's see, where else can you get narcotics? Dangers. So poison is a narcotic. That's some really bad narcotics, man. And but I can't really see anyone heading away from there. So our next order of business would be to check staff room, which they can't go into. None of these places can be entered. So was it a visitation? No. So somewhere, somehow, somebody managed to get narcotics. Nobody entered the prison as well, so there can't really be any prisoners that brought it in. So yeah, somehow somebody managed to get some narcotics. But yeah, blah blah blah. That will be it for this episode. I'll be thanking you for watching. Again, please, if you like this as much as I do, download this mod. It's really enjoyable. I really like how this gives the game some new perspectives and how you may want to run it. And ooh, look at this, nach Köln. So these are going to Köln. Sweet. But yeah, thank you for watching, guys. Please like this video if you liked it. Subscribe to this mod at the Steam Workshop if you want to play it yourself. And I will be seeing you next time in Prison Architect, so bye bye.